Here's a home phone, and here's a home phone. They're both reliable and provide unlimited local calls. But that's where the similarities end. This one includes more than 18 popular calling features, like call waiting, caller ID, three-way calling, and call forwarding. The other one charges extra for those, as much as $34.50 more a month if you add them all up. This one includes voicemail. The other one does not. This one has low long-distance rates, just 15 cents a minute to the US. The other one charges 47 cents a minute for the same thing. So, which one would you choose for your home phone? This one is Rev Voice, and you can get it for as low as $14.99 a month. Rev Voice, the better choice. Sign up for Rev Voice today for as low as $14.99 a month. You get lots of free features, lower long-distance rates, and great sound quality. Call us at 601-8992 to sign up for Rev Voice today.
Good evening, Bahamas. You are tuned in to NB12 broadcasting from Cable 12 Studios on Robinson Road. Coming up tonight in news, the opposition leader slams the Prime Minister over his recent referendum comments. This as a PLP MP tells critics to get over it. Government considers a 50% city market payout, plus a local support group outraged by this year's murder count. We've got those stories and much more. I'm Vonnie Toot, and NB12 starts right now. Topping news tonight, if Prime Minister Christie was surprised by the results of last week's gambling referendum, then opposition leader Dr. Hubert Minnis says he was surprised by Christie's recent comments. He says the fact that the Prime Minister hadn't anticipated a no vote is very telling. Paige McCartney reports.
Minnis says the Prime Minister's comments suggest he was disappointed in the vote against the regulation and taxation of web shops and the implementation of a national lottery. On Tuesday, Christie revealed for the first time since the January 28th referendum his personal feelings about the outcome, saying that he was surprised, particularly as it relates to the large gap between the electorates voting yes and voting no. Minnis said that comment says more than what appears on the surface.
That's admission, essentially, that you were expecting a yes. Because you're surprised, it meant that you're surprised of something different from what you expected.
Minnis said with this matter now before the courts, he hopes the government encourages the courts not to drag its feet on the matter that he calls a pressing issue for Bahamians. However, just yesterday, attorney Wayne Monroe, who represents 6 of the 7 web shop bosses who have secured an injunction from the court allowing them to keep their businesses open, indicated that the court process could take more than 2 months before having to enter into case management.
I would hope that the Attorney General's office, the government, move very, very aggressively in defending the wishes of the people. The people voted no, and I would not like to see the Attorney General's office moving non-aggressively or slowly so as basically to not to abide by the wishes of the people.
In the meantime, the government is awaiting recommendations for a date for the constitutional referendum that will take place later this year. Christie said the government will have a horse in that race and would therefore conduct educational campaigns to help Bahamians make up their minds. Minnis said Bahamians can't believe the Prime Minister.
Well, he said that also the last one, that there'd be education. If you remember correctly, he said that after the Christmas starting in January, there'll be a series of educational process, a series of town meetings, etc., to ensure that the people know. That did not happen, so why should I believe him again?
Prime Minister Christie has said he wants the constitutional referendum to take place before the country's 40th anniversary celebrations. However, Chairman of the Constitutional Reform Committee, Sean McQueenie, has said the commission may need more time to set a date. Reporting for NB12, I'm Paige McCartney.
Fox Hill Member of Parliament Fred Mitchell came to the Prime Minister's defense in Parliament today, insisting that the gambling referendum is done and it's time for Bahamians to move on. In fact, he says the Christie administration should be proud of conducting a democratic process.
This Prime Minister was consistent. He said it would be a matter of conscience, and he stuck by that, even though many of us were saying, get into the race. But this is his government, and he ran it as he wished, with our leave and support. And there is nothing about this exercise about which I am ashamed. Nothing. I'm proud of him. That's right. Proud of my colleagues, and proud of the Bahamian people, even when I disagree with them. I'm proud of them.
Mitchell said despite harsh public criticism, holding the referendum was the right thing for government to do.
Whether or not it was bad or not is not my business. We put the matter to the people of the country, and they said no. So what part of no don't you understand? No is no. In fact, I said when I spoke on the matter of morality and public policy, I said it wasn't really my business. But the point is, the vote took place. And the PLP caused it to take place in fulfillment of its promise to the electorate when it was campaigning for office to do so.
The Fox Hill MP said there has been too much negative public discourse over the gambling referendum and advised so-called doomers and gloomers to get over it.
One commentator accused the PLP and the Prime Minister of botching the referendum. That is utter and complete bollocks. Only in this country should such an ordinary event be transformed, transmogrified, if you will, into something so dire that the predictors were all around preaching doom and gloom. Doom and gloom if we voted yes, and doom and gloom now that we voted no. Nonsense. Nonsense. This is just an ordinary democratic event of which there will be many. And we just have to get used to it.
Parliamentarians began debate in the House of Assembly today on a resolution for a select committee to review the allowances and benefits of members of Parliament and senators, as well as the construction of a parliamentary complex. Mitchell raised the debate, saying that a new parliamentary complex is long overdue, with drawings already complete for the structure to be built at the Old Victoria Hotel site. He also argued that the pensions and allowances for MPs should be revised to compensate for regular work and travel throughout the country. However, the opposition has questioned whether such a resolution is necessary at this time, considering current financial constraints.
I can only again question the timing of it. Should we not be giving focused attention to something more substantive that will enrich the lives of the people we serve, that we continue to say need attention and are suffering from foreclosure, suffering from unemployment, suffering from crime. And so, Mr. Speaker, now is not the time for us to be giving attention to the committee.
However, Deputy Prime Minister Philip Brave Davis is of the view that government should make the changes so that it can leave something behind for future parliamentarians.
The member from Fox Hill spoke very eloquently of the need for us to leave something behind to those who will be coming behind us.
Well, we know the percentage of unemployed Bahamians. However, officials at the Department of Statistics say it's unclear how many Bahamian families are living below the poverty line. They hope to change that this year by conducting a survey. Christina McNeil explains.
The Department of Statistics set to begin laying the groundwork that will help to determine the country's poverty line, a vital statistic that hasn't been calculated in more than a decade, and one that will help to set policy and reinforce the country's social safety net.
The 2001 survey of living conditions indicated the Bahamas had a poverty rate of 9.3%. The study found that 5.1% of Bahamian households were below the annual poverty line of just under $3,000. Director of Statistics Kelsey Dorsett explains that the poverty line is the minimum cost of a household, typically 4 individuals, to support itself based on the cost of living in any given year, in this case 2001. But according to Dorsett, that figure has not been updated in more than a decade.
We will be able to calculate the poverty rate in the Bahamas. We would be able to show whether the last time we did it, whether there's been a decline or an increase. Hopefully it's been a decline because, the Millennium Development Goals, one of the goals is that you decrease your poverty rate by 2015. They come to fruition in 2015. So it will enable us to calculate the poverty rate to show exactly how the Bahamians are living, who is living in poverty, and what is the root of that poverty.
The Bahamas last year received approval from the Inter-American Development Bank for a $7.5 million loan that is designed to help fight poverty by focusing on behavior change, educational achievement, and healthier lifestyles among children from poor households. Dorsett says statistics like the poverty line are essential to driving policy decisions and improving the country's social safety net that helps the poorest families make ends meet.
For policymakers, if they realize that we all watching so much TV, then what can they put in place in terms of maybe making more interesting, national, informative, educational programs, or, in terms of what kind of other activities we can have to get people motivated to do other things. So it has a lot of policy implications. But the main purpose of the survey is, like I say, to see how we are living and how we are spending our money.
Dorsett says the department will begin visiting a sample of households throughout the Bahamas next week to conduct the household expenditure survey. She says the survey will ask questions from the mundane to the intricate to get a better sense of the types of lifestyles Bahamians are living.
In there, you asking people if they exercise and how many times a day they exercise, if they how many times a day they eat fruits and vegetables, how many times a day do they sit down to a meal together, how many hours they spend watching TV during the week and on the weekend. So we're really trying to determine exactly how we are living. It leads to the overall well-being and health of the country.
The household expenditure survey will also help determine the revised retail price index, the rate of inflation, and the revised consumer basket.
Survey set to begin on Monday in both New Providence and Grand Bahama. The department hopes to survey about 2,500 households on 11 islands by April. Reporting for NB12, I'm Christina McNeil.